What is up, though, Lions fans? It's your boy, Motor City Don P, back once again. And when I'm back, there's one thing and one thing only. It's just that the Motor City Cats, we back at it. We came to give you stats, none of that static. Whatever you do, make sure you keep your Lions news pragmatic. And today we have a show for you, and I believe you know where it's going. But before we get started, make sure you take the time to smash that like button. Make sure you take the time to share. And I'm going to do the same damn thing. Because, your boy be forgetting sometimes. Most of the time. I'm not going to lie to you. All right, let's see here. All right. Now the stream has been shared. So what we got to get into today, and I think you know the direction. What up to Kane Press? What up to Tactical Sport? Is one Bradley Holmes. I need to get his middle name down. Because I don't want to bite off Derek. What does he call him? Bradley Matthias Jerome Holmes or something like that. I need to get his actual name down. Brad Holmes went on the flagship today. We're going to play the audio for you. I got to make sure that y'all can hear it. So when I play it, just let me know that you can hear it. 1 second. Let me pull this up. Let's see here. All right. So it's a long one. All right, let me get exactly the part that I want to get to. And I'm just going to play it from Syndicate's channel because he has the part that I'm looking into. Okay. All right. So Brad Holmes went on the flagship. If you guys don't know this, he went on there today and they were asking him about edge rushers. And his answers were very interesting. I think his answers were they're a little bit off. They were a little bit off based off the question. So let's make sure. Can you hear me? I may have an echo now. Do I have an echo? If I have an echo, that's actually good because then you can hear the desktop audio. All right. So I'm going to get into this and just let me know if you can hear it. I'm going to go a few seconds in and then you let me know. All right.
And if it fits, but you just have to be at peace with that.
I know you've been asked a ton about edge. Do you understand why people inundate you with the questions? Like, do you think it's a fair...
I don't understand it.
So, because you've said that the injuries are why you assume you're getting the questions. I think even before Aiden got hurt, people wanted to know about a running mate opposite Aiden just because of the lack of production on the opposite edge. So you don't see that the way that on the outside we see that.
Well, I'm curious, let's look at all the, so you brought up Aiden Hutchinson. Would you say Aiden Hutchinson is an elite edge rusher?
Yeah.
Okay. How many elite edge rushers are in the
NFL? I'd say 5 or 6.
Okay, I think that's fair. And obviously there's 32 teams in the NFL, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's usually 2 edge rushers on the field at the same time, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're in, barring injury or anything else, now you're talking about 64 players, right? We have one of the 5 or 6, right? Why? How come all of the 5 or 6? How come it's not just 1 or 2 when you look at the whole team? Like, how come one team doesn't have 2 elite ones?
I don't know that
Or
the
how
ask
come
is
another team that doesn't have two elite ones? Well, we talked about it. They're hard to find, they're hard to get, they're hard to acquire. But I have felt like ever since we have acquired Aiden Hutchinson, as great of a player he is, I always felt like the fan base is almost mad. Like they're mad because we have Aiden Hutchinson. Because now he's so good. Well, why don't you have two of them? And so now it goes in that, but I have
it's
been
never
curious.
enough, right? Yeah, that's kind of how it feels.
I've been curious, the teams that have those elite 5 or 6 edge rushers in other media markets, I have been curious, okay, we have an elite edge rusher. All we're going to ask is about edge rusher. You know what I mean? Like, and we all know who those players are. When you go to those cities and those media markets and they have an elite edge rusher, all you do is get questions about edge rusher. But you have an elite one. But all you're asking about is, well, how come you don't have another one?
Yeah, I don't know
and
if
then
the
now
ask
you get into
is,
well, are you trying to build a football team or are you trying to just pair? And yes, like I've said all the time, we would love to have 3 or 4 of them, but that's not reality all the time.
Yeah, I would just point out, I don't think people, I mean, we'd all love to have 2 elite edges. I think people just want more production than, say, you've gotten from the position in 23 and 24. From a sack standpoint, from the second end position, and if that's an area that, yeah, maybe you can't get one of the elite guys, but is there more that could be done? You've said you've tried to trade it up, so I do wonder if some of that is, you do understand where people are coming from on that level.
Well, yeah, if you bring in 24, I mean, at one point we had 5 injured defensive ends. So that was a little bit of an anomaly. Of course, like when you have we got up to 5 that were injured, and then we have to find someone to finish out the season. We made the trade for Za'Darius, but and then, obviously we just have been steadily improving the roster year by year. But so I do understand the attrition and the depth component of it. But again, it has to all line up as well. So it's not just, again, you can draft an edge rusher. That's easy. That we can do that every single round. We can draft one. Now, does he fit? Does he fit the requirements that we're looking for in a player? Then now that's a whole different story. Because if you draft that edge rusher that's not contributing to the level that we would all like, then what's next? Oh, find another edge rusher, right?
Right.
Find another edge rusher because that one wasn't good enough. Well, we drafted one, right? I thought that's all we needed to. I thought all we needed to do was draft one, right?
Draft a good
but
one,
then
Brad.
If that player's
that's
not
what people
performing,
are saying.
then now, or if the player's not starting, if he's a backup, if he, you know what I mean. So you got to look into all of those things. So I mean, I understand. Yes, you want more production. If you count 2024, where we had just a litany of injuries at that one position among other spots, I can understand that with the recency bias. But we do have we have an elite one, and that's the only one that I kind of don't understand is we have an elite one, but all we get asked is edge rusher.
Well, let's talk about that elite one.
All right. Okay. So here's the thing, right? There's so many things that we can take away from this. Shout out Tactical Sport. He says, I don't think anyone is asking for another elite edge. What we are asking for is another competent edge. 100%. So here's the thing. When Brad says fit our scheme or fit what we like to do, what is it that you like to do opposite Aiden Hutchinson? You don't like to get sacks. You don't like to pressure the pass. Like, we have to go back to Brad Holmes is not a stupid man. Okay? Brad Holmes is not a stupid man. Brad Holmes is an intelligent man. But Brad Holmes in this interview was giving off Bob Quinn vibes. Okay. Brad Holmes was giving off smartest guy in the room vibes as he's trying to break this down and tell everyone why we're wrong to be clamoring for an edge rusher. We're not clamoring for an edge rusher who is of the caliber of Aiden Hutchinson. I want to ask you guys a question. Do you think Za'Darius Smith is of the caliber of Aiden Hutchinson? I don't think anybody would tell you that Za'Darius Smith is better or on par on the same level as Aiden Hutchinson. But guess where Za'Darius Smith was before he got to Detroit? Za'Darius Smith was in Green Bay. And what did they call him and Preston Smith? They called him the Smith boys or the Smith brothers, right? This was a wrecking crew that you had to take note of. They had a nickname together, right? He was in freaking last season before we got him. He was in Cleveland as the bookend to Myles Garrett. And over there, he got less pressures than he got here. He got one more sack, but obviously he played more games over there, right? See, he got more pressures when he came over here. So now we're looking at the situation like, oh man, Za'Darius, even by himself, got so many pressures over here. I think he had 63 pressures for the season or 67 pressures for the season, and he had 37 of them here, right? So he had 30 of them over there. I might be a little bit off with that stat, but it is close. I can guarantee you that. Yeah, I don't think that a couple numbers are that important, but he had 37 pressures and 4 sacks in 7 games here. Okay. What is your scheme? What do you like to do opposite Hutch? Because when you got a guy opposite Hutch who gave you more sacks than anyone else on the team other than Hutch, and in fewer games than anyone else on the team, other than Marcus Davenport. Marcus Davenport had one. I don't even know if I call it a half game. One and a quarter. Okay. Aiden Hutchinson had 5.5 games, right? But other than that, Aleem McNeil had how many games? Okay, we're not even going to look at Aleem McNeil because Aleem McNeil is on the interior. Okay, Aleem McNeil, DJ Reader, they're on the interior. DJ Reader is not a guy that you're expecting sacks from, but he gave you 3, right? He gave you more than what you expected. It's that the problem is when we're getting less than what is expected, when we're getting Josh Pascal and you're like, well, that's what we like to do. We like to set the edge and stop the run. That's great. We can set the edge and we can stop the run, but we also can have a dog ass end on the other side. And just because a person is a dog doesn't make him elite. All right. Right. And I'm not throwing any shade and nobody's catching any strays here. Okay. Amik Robertson is a dog. Would you say he's an elite corner? Right? Would you say he's elite? He's at the top. He's like in the top 3 of this league. Probably not. Right? Carlton Davis was a dog. He may be top 10 in corners, right? Malcolm Rodriguez is a dog. You drafted a 6th round dog who was surprisingly more productive, and he had a starting role, which Coach Shep was like, I don't want to start this rookie, but y'all gonna make me start a rookie. Okay, so we're not talking about, like, would anyone confuse Malcolm Rodriguez for being elite? I'm not sure that we would. If you thought that Malcolm Rodriguez was elite, you probably don't watch a whole lot of football. Tactical Sports says, here's a question. So going off of Brad's logic, since St. Brown is an elite receiver, we shouldn't have drafted J-Mo. Right, we shouldn't have drafted J-Mo. And we for damn sure shouldn't have traded up all the picks that we traded up, giving away 2 third-rounders for next season to go get this Isaac Tesla person. Okay, because again, based on his logic, right? This guy, and we're gonna get into the Tesla stuff. I'm gonna save that. And so when I say it was Bob Quinn-esque, this call, this interview, because smartest guy in the room. Like I'm smarter than everyone, and I'm going to patronize you and talk to you like a child. Like, you're dumb for asking me about edge rushers. You are dumb. See, this is the heel turn. This is the heel turn. Okay? This when he first got asked the question, right? And they go, "Do you understand? Yeah, you understand why you get the question?" "I don't understand it." How don't you understand it, Brad? Brad, and you're probably not going to hear this, and you probably don't care. I'm sure you don't care. But Brad, Josh Pascal gave you 1 sack, 1 for the entire season. Levi Onwuzurike gave you 3 half sacks. I keep saying this, but it's the truth. The production on the other side of Aiden Hutchinson is almost non-existent. Now, here's a guy that you have that can produce at a high level. Bro, Marcus Davenport, dog. Everybody would love Marcus Davenport on the team. Everybody would love there's 32 teams that would love to have Marcus Davenport's size, athleticism, physicality, and ability out of their second edge rusher, or maybe even their first edge rusher. Marcus Davenport could be the number 1 guy on a bunch of teams, but guess what? The 32 teams without 31, because we got the one team. We got the one team that likes and loves and believes in his ability to stay on the field. But you know what? They don't. They don't. Because if they did believe in that ability, his $4.75 million contract wouldn't be a thing. If they believed in his ability, he probably be getting 14, 15 million a year, being paid like a middle of the pack edge rusher, right? Because we know that the Max Crosby's and the Myles Garrett's are getting 30, 40 million. Right. So he probably would have been paid like a middle of the pack guy. I mean, you don't have 15 million for Marcus Davenport. You don't? I do. I got 15 million for you, Marcus, if you're going to stay healthy for 17 games, which you're not. Right. So not factoring in the injury history of a player when you go and sign him, or you go draft him, or you're scouting him, not factoring this in makes 0 sense. How? So that's what I'm asking. That's my question. What is your philosophy? What is it that you like to do? They don't fit what we like to do. They've got to fit what we like to do if we're going to draft them. Okay. We know Mike Green didn't fit what you like to do off the field. Okay, he definitely didn't fit that, right? And I keep saying he went to the Shannon Sharp School of Journalism, allegedly. But we know he didn't fit what you like to do off the field. Did he fit what you like to do on the field? Can I interest you in 17 sacks last season? Can I interest you in that? Right? Here's the thing. Again, I gotta save that. Yeah, it's gonna roll into some other stuff. Could I interest you in 17 sacks? Donovan Ezeraku also had 17. Can I interest you in that? Now, I did speculate about Donovan Ezeraku not knowing exactly how good he is, because his production was wild. It fluctuated. 9 sacks one year, 17 sacks the other year, 2 sacks over here, right? And a lot of his sacks, according to scouts, were cleanup sacks, right? So he didn't initiate the first contact. So that's fine. Okay. Jihad Campbell. Can I interest you in Jihad Campbell? Can I interest you in a Swiss Army knife at linebacker with a linebacker as your defensive coordinator? Can I interest you in a linebacker who can do everything on the field? Right? And he does everything at a good to great level. Right? He's decent in run support. Okay? So all we're doing is running around talking about stopping the run. Guess what you do? And I'm going to ask, this is a question for the chat. I want to see if anybody gets the direct answer that I'm looking for. Because anybody that is not feeling what I'm saying, and if you're in the chat, go ahead, hop in, man. You know what I'm saying? We got a lot of viewers in the chat. But we don't have a lot of chatting going on. So get your opinions out there. Get your voice heard. I'll read it. But can somebody tell me what you do when all you do is stop the run? When you just stop the run, you stop the run, you stop the run, and a team comes into Detroit and they know we can't run on Detroit. What happens then? Anybody want to tell me what happens after you stop the run, stop the run, stop the run? We are elite at stopping the run, right? You average 2 yards a game versus the Detroit Lions. You just can't run. You can't do nothing. Your running back comes in. He's got 3 fumbles per game. He's got 0.00005 yards per carry average. What happens when you completely take away the run game from a team? Don't be shy. That's right, Dolo Dynamite. We could have had Jihad Campbell and Mike Green. That's what I just finished saying. But what happens when you take away the running game from a team? You pass the ball to open up run. Wait, so when you force them out of the run, you force them into the pass, which is your weakness? Because you don't get to the quarterback. Aiden Hutchinson getting to the quarterback by himself is not the model of consistency that you want. Okay? Aiden Hutchinson had 7.5 sacks before he left in game 5. He also had 4.5 of those sacks in one game. Okay? So what happens later on in the season, right? So he's on pace, right? If we do the math, let's say he was on pace for 24 sacks. Okay. Can you keep up that pace when part of the reason that you had all of that is because you had 4.5 sacks in one game? You played 5 sacks. You played 5 games. One of the games you had 4.5 sacks. In the other games, you had 7.5. So 4.5, 3. In the other 4 games, you had 3 sacks. So I'm not telling you to take out a game. I don't do that. But what I'm telling you is the stats were bolstered by one game. And we said Aiden Hutchinson is elite. He's a dog. He's an elite dog, right? He had to go and get those 4.5 sacks in one game. He had to go do that. Nobody said anything about that. But I'm just talking about the pace. What is the pace that you could have continued on throughout the year? Could you have gotten to 25 sacks? Possibly. But you would have had to have multiple, 2, 3, 4 sack games to get there, because there are going to be some games, especially with our current construction, where they're going to take you out of the game. Why are they going to take you out of the game? Because you're the only threat on the defensive line as far as rushing the passer. Okay, Aleem McNeil from the interior last year, he gave you 5 sacks. This year, he gave you 3.5 before he got injured. Cool. All right. So you have really the threat is Aiden Hutchinson. Okay. If they're going to say, all right, well, we got to double team DJ Reader because he's a monster in the run game. Okay. You got to pick your poison. How many offensive coordinators are going, well, we're going to let Hutch eat and we're going to stop Aleem? That's not realistic. All right, let me get to this. Dolomite says, and still got Ratledge and Deion Walker from Kentucky. But people want to praise Brad. F that. He effed up being stubborn. I've said it once and I'll say it again. Our leading pass rusher played in 4.5 games. Correct. Our defensive line had 10 sacks from players not named Hutch. This is my point. Okay? Forget the addition of people that came in afterwards, right? I think El Qadim Muhammad had 1 sack. Zadarius Smith, we know he had 4. They weren't on the team at the beginning of the season. From the people that were on the team at the beginning of the season, okay? And I can't really take out DJ Reader, but DJ Reader overperformed what you expected him in the sack department. You didn't expect 3 sacks from DJ Reader. You expected maybe 1. He's not a sack getter. He's a run stuffer. And this is why people have a problem with the Tyleek pick, because he's a clone of Aleem McNeil, supposedly, but Aleem McNeil's a better pass rusher. Right? Tyleek is a run stuffer. That's what he's good at. That's what he's elite at. He's an instinctive run stuffer. Yes, he can get to the passer. But if you look at his college highlights, what games was he getting to the passer to? He was getting to the passer at will against Rutgers, against Western Kentucky, against Toledo. What was he doing against Michigan? What was he doing against, the bigger schools? Was he consistently getting to the passer? Because if you're looking at any of the competition level and you're going to say, well, let's make it comparable to the NFL, which you can't, but you know what I mean, right? How do they do against the biggest schools? Because you got the biggest schools and then you got the NFL. Okay. You can't even see my hand. Biggest schools, NFL. Okay. It's way up there. The game is different. The game speed is different. The physicality is different. It's faster. Okay. So if you're here at the biggest schools and you can't get to the passer, when you go up here, what are you going to do? Okay. We expect Tyleek to stop the run. That's what we expect him to do. We expect a sprinkling here and there, a smidge, a dab. Okay. If he's replacing, DJ Reader, right? If DJ Reader is not coming back this season after this current next one, right? If he's not getting his contract renewed, and you say, okay, he can replace DJ Reader and he can give you 1 or 2 sacks a year. Are you happy with him giving 1 or 2 sacks a year when you could have had a Mike Green who could give you double-digit sacks every year? Again, I understand the allegations of Mike Green. I'm just using that as a talent situation. As a talent situation. Are you telling me you can't stop the run because you're 250? But if you were 260, if you were 10 pounds heavier, you could definitely stop the run? And we couldn't add 10 pounds to that frame? Mike Green couldn't add 10 pounds to his frame is what I'm hearing. I just wanted Brad to make it make sense. Okay, so now what he is doing with all of this is, I know you got shout out Flannel Sam. You got the Brad bots, okay, who just bow down and kiss Brad's behind no matter what he does, and will never question anything that he does. All right. Here's my thing about that. Never question anything he does. What did Brad tell you that his philosophy was? As far as drafting, does he go BPA or does he feel needs in the draft? I wait. I just want you guys to let me know in the chat, what does he say about his drafting philosophy? I'm sure we all know. I'm sure we all remember. This is a bit of a rant because I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated that we're being told that edge rusher doesn't matter. Right? Because we're being told that edge rusher, oh, well, what do you have to do? Well, what if that one doesn't work out? Just draft one, as he said, draft a good one. Right? You could have drafted one in the second round. You could have drafted one in the third round. Tactical Sports says, so I have a theory. It seems that Brad thinks that since the fans wanted Miles, then we must have wanted 2 elite pass rushers. Yeah, we wanted Miles because he was available. Right? Whenever you see someone who's available and they feel a need, you want them. We wanted Trey Hendrickson because he was available. We wanted Max Crosby when we thought he was available. We wanted Myles Garrett when we thought he was available. We wanted Harold Landry. Okay? Is there a significant step down between Myles Garrett and Harold Landry? Would you say? I think you would. Is there a significant step down? We wanted Khalil Mack. Some of us wanted Joey Bosa. I didn't, because he's the same as Marcus Davenport. Right? He's got all the tools, the physical tools. He's got all the traits. He's got all the ability in the world, but he plays 5 games a year. Right? So would you say there was a significant step down? I mean, we were talking about kicking the tires on Hassan Reddick. Said when is actually what we was saying, that if you can get 2 elite pass rushers, why not? But if you can't get 2 elite pass rushers, then at least have one and a competent one. Right. We wanted anybody that became available. Every video, we did videos about everybody. Let me move my hat over here. Oh, just this way. Yeah. Okay. All right. We did videos about everybody. We did a video about Trey Hendrickson. We did videos about Hassan Reddick. We did videos about Myles Garrett. We did videos about freaking Matthew Judon. We did videos about who else? Calais Campbell. Bro, we wanted anybody on the other side of Hutch. Anybody who had a pulse as far as pass rushing. If you can get a Myles Garrett and a Hutch, go ahead and do that. If you can get a Max Crosby and a Hutch, go ahead and do that. If you can get a Trey Hendrickson and a Hutch, go ahead and do that. But this is what I told y'all. Y'all remember this. Remember what I said. I said if Brad Holmes does not get an edge rusher in the first round with pick number 28, or he trades up or what have you, then it's going to create anxiety. And what did it create? Anxiety. Because we didn't get one until the 6th round. And then he comes in there in the post conference and goes, I don't know. It's just, y'all been on my ass. He didn't say pause either. Right? So I would have been like, y'all been on my ass, pause. I don't know. Is the 6th round, is that good enough? No, Brad. It's not. It's not good enough. Because then when you sit there and you go, well, we drafted one. We drafted one in the 6th round. Really? We tried. You know what I mean? That's like if somebody tells you to call somebody and somebody you don't want to talk to, right? And you call them and you let it ring once and you hang up. You be like, I tried, man. I called, they didn't answer. Yeah, I called, but they didn't pick up the phone. You know what I mean? And all the while your phone's on silent in your pocket vibrating because they calling you back and you just ignoring it. That's exactly what we're doing with a 6th round pick at edge. I have no problem with Ahmed Hassanein. I have no problem with it at all. Right? No problems. 0. But that can't be your answer. Motor City's Maniac says, who's got anxiety? LOL. Well, nobody now. All the anxiety is gone because we got an edge rusher in the 6th round. Yay. We're perfectly fine. We're perfectly fine to go into the season with Marcus Davenport starting on the opposite side of Hutch. Remember when Brad said after day 1, he had some ideas, whether it was moving up, moving back, staying put, he had some ideas. Anybody who was here with me on the draft, I told you, I was hitting the Cat Williams, and you saw me hit it. Just come up to the line, boy, and we're going to see what's next. And this goes back to my question of, is it BPA or is it a need? It's neither. It's neither. Because when I was standing up, I seen that trade. We traded all the way up to 70. I was like, this is it. This is it. We're about to grab our Mike Green, or we're going to grab Donovan Ezra. We're going to grab somebody who's still available here. And we took Isaac Tesla, a wide receiver. We have no 3rd round picks next season. And you know what else you use those 3rd round picks for? Guess what? We have a trade deadline coming. And with the trade deadline coming, right now, you've got Marcus Davenport as your starter. And I know I've been told by a couple people that they don't believe that Marcus Davenport will be the starter opposite of Hutch. So my question is, who the hell is it going to be? Is it going to be Levi? Is Levi going to be starting opposite Hutch with his 3 half sacks for 16 or 17 games? I don't know. Okay. Is it going to be Josh Pascal with his 1 sack per year? I don't know. Josh Pascal is a good player. He doesn't get to the quarterback. Levi Onwuzurike is a good player. He doesn't get to the quarterback. Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels, Jordan Love twice, Caleb Williams twice, Patrick Mahomes. Those are the people that we are tasked to get to with Jess Hutch and some dude on the other side. Now, when Easy was on yesterday, he asked me about, he was like, who was on the other side of Josh Sweat? And I didn't know. It's Nolan Smith, right? I thought to say Nolan Smith, but I didn't, because I thought he was more of a linebacker, but a Sam. But anyway, it wasn't important who was on the other side of Josh Sweat, because number one, absolutely better than than Josh Pascal and Levi Onwuzurike getting to the passer. I think Nolan Smith had 6 sacks last year. Okay? So absolutely 100% better about getting the passer on the ground. And number 2, you have Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis in the middle. Both of those guys are getting double teamed because you cannot block them singled up. You have to do a pick your poison. Someone is going to get free. But when we traded up for a wide receiver, Brad Holmes said that he was his favorite receiver in the draft. Not the best, but his favorite. So hold on. You draft BPA, but you already said this dude's not the best. He was just your favorite. You got a guy in Isaac Tesla who thought he was going to go in the 5th round. You traded up and gave away 2 third-round picks. And again, my point about the third-round picks is at the trade deadline, because you have a question mark on the other side of Hutch. And who knows what else may happen, right? Aleem McNeil, we don't know if he's coming back, when he's coming back, and what he's going to be as soon as he comes back. We don't know. So maybe you'll need to trade for a defensive tackle. Who knows? But you know what you don't have in order to get a trade done? Those 2 third-round picks. And get some of your comments. Tactical Sports says, going into the season, putting all of your eggs in the Marcus Davenport basket is wild. It's beyond wild. It's crazy. It's wild and crazy. It's wild and crazy kids. It's wet and wacky. It's Nickelodeon guts. It's Laffy Taffy. And all of the above. Motor City Mania says, I wasn't worried myself. I've always thought Z will sign. Well, if Z resigns, then we're all good. If Z resigns, we are all good. And maybe that's why Brad came out like that. Maybe Brad just came out like, yeah, I don't know what's going on behind. You know what I'm saying? Behind the scenes, I got the information. Y'all don't know what's happening. I do. Your boy Brad Holmes. Kiss the rings, bitch. Like, what ring? What ring are we kissing? Dolo Dynamite says Lions won't be winning the Super Bowl this year because of Brad. The Lions didn't get better. I'm a real fan, not delusional. The roster still looks the same. Everyone around us got better. Motor City Maniac says exactly 100. Okay. Again, we got to sign Za'Darius. And right now it's not looking great. That's my point. We got to sign Za'Darius. If we sign Za'Darius, all of this stuff is null and void, and it's a moot point. And I will hop right back on here. Pause, right? If we sign Za'Darius and be happy as a clam because we got our competent edge rusher. We don't have one available to us. And the one that we have available probably won't be available for long. And that's Marcus Davenport. I love, and listen, I got to keep saying this because I'm labeled as the Davenport hater, and I know you guys. I'm preaching to the choir. For the people that are here, they understand that Marcus Davenport's health is not to be relied on. I tried to tell someone that last year, and they just kept trying to be right about stuff. And I was right, and I don't take any pride or pleasure in being right about someone's injury history and then them getting hurt and lost for the season in the second game that they played for us. I don't take any pride in that. All I'm saying is I tried to tell you that injury history of injuries, long history of injuries is a future indicator of how things will go. If you had a nagging injury here and there, if you get a season ender, it will be a surprise because you don't have a history of that. If you have a history of season-ending injuries and you make it through an entire season, it will be a surprise because your injury history says you shouldn't have made it through the whole season. It works both ways. You're surprised when a person doesn't have injury history and when they get a major injury. You're surprised when a person that has a riddled injury history makes it through an entire season. I hope I'm pleasantly surprised and Marcus Davenport makes it through the entire season. And I'll be the first one to tell you I was incorrect about Marcus Davenport. I have no problem with that. Okay. Now, can you string some seasons together? 2 or 3? That remains to be seen. Right? That remains to be seen. Dolo Dynamite says we still needed a young dog behind him in waiting. I don't disagree. I think someone would have already picked Z up. Haven't heard of him getting any offers. He loves trading away our thirds for BS. That's also not wrong. As far as picking Z up, Z is in Detroit. His girl is in Detroit. Now his nephew is in Detroit. And this is he's in a holding pattern right now because he has a number. The Lions have a number, and he's trying to get closer to his own number. Right? Let's say his number is 12 million per year, and the Lions' number is 5. So even if he gets 7 or 8, guess where he's going? To that place that's paying him 7 or 8. It's not going to be the Detroit Lions who are offering 5. I don't know how much they're offering. I haven't seen any offers. But that's the point. Right? If he gets an offer and I know maybe it's just $1 or $2 million per year, maybe even 3. More than what the Lions are offering him. Then you have to say, okay, is Za'Darius about championships? Because if he is about championships, then he'll take the money from Detroit. But if he's just trying to maximize the money that he makes, which I get, and I don't begrudge anybody for that. If you want to go and make the most money that you can at the time where your earning potential is the highest, go do it. Why not? We would all do it. Every single one of us out here in the world that has nothing to do with sports. Sports is an escape. Right? Sports is an escape. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on Za'Darius. He loves trading. Yeah, I said that. So I don't like what I see. Here's the thing, and here's the thing that's baffling to me, right? What position did Brad Holmes play? He played defensive tackle. If you look at the thumbnail, if you look at all the people that they were wearing his jersey from college, North Carolina A&T Aggies. So you would think that Brad Holmes, I know he's a defensive tackle. He ain't got no love for the edges. Is that what we're saying? Is it beef? Is there like beef between defensive tackles and edges? I thought they were best friends with each other. So you telling me the defensive tackles are the Crips and the edges are the Bloods? Is that what you're saying? That there is beef, that there is gang war between these two positions? That's crazy. I wouldn't have known that. I'm glad we had this talk, Brad. So if you're a defensive lineman, a former defensive lineman, what's the problem? What's the problem? Go get an edge rusher. And it's not just any edge rusher. It's not. Okay? If Jack Sawyer projects to be an edge in the pros, I'd have been upset if you selected him. I'm just saying. So as far as the getting back to my point, right? As far as me saying I don't understand what Brad's issue is with getting edges and things of this nature. He said Brad does love DTs. What up with that? Yeah, I'm telling you, he was a defensive tackle himself. So he's a defensive tackle by trade. He's a cornerback snob, self-admitted. So he loads up on cornerbacks and defensive tackles. But when you say that you want 3 or 4, why not? You know, we want 3 or 4 of those guys, but you don't make any attempts, bro. You don't make any attempts to get them. And I understand that he says it's 2 to tango, and we try to trade up with people. And shout out to Easy because he did introduce the Brad tax. Because when Brad calls you, there's a chance that you're gonna look silly, right? What's his name? Kwesi Odafomenso of the Minnesota Vikings looked silly when we traded up to 12 and got JMO. You know, Gutekunst, he looked silly when he accepted the trade for Brian Branch, right? He looked silly. So maybe it is GMs protecting themselves from not looking foolish. Maybe that's the case. So maybe that's why he couldn't trade up. Maybe that's why he couldn't trade for Danielle Hunter, because it's like, man, we did business with you already, and now we're reaping what we've sowed. We drafted Lewis Cine, who's no longer on the team, and I don't even know if he's in the NFL. Y'all drafted JMO. But the rest is history. Right? The Packers, I don't know who they got when we got Brian Branch, though. So this is, Tactical Sports says, I wouldn't have a problem if he was drafting disruptive DTs, but all he's doing is bringing in run-stopping DTs. I had a problem with, and I said this yesterday. Someone said that Tyleek and Aleem are going to be like Sue and Fairley. My question is how? When Tyleek is a lesser version of Aleem. Because Brad was talking about their demeanor being the same. They have the same body type. They are both great against the run, blah, 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 blah. But Aleem is a better pass rusher. He's a better pocket pusher. Donkey Kong trolling again says Brad Holmes is amazing. What a perfect draft. Dola Dynamite says Brad is arrogant and stubborn. Like he's starting, like, you know, that's starting to show through, and that's not good. Okay, that's why we hated Brad Quinn. Brad Quinn was stupid though, and he thought he was the smartest guy in the room. Brad Holmes is very intelligent. Brad Holmes makes great draft choices. Right? No one can deny the draft hits that Kirby Joseph is the highest paid surf. Can I say the words? Anybody want to let me? Can I say the words? All right. It's YouTube, man. It's the man. All right. Let me try again. Kirby Joseph is the highest paid safety in the NFL. Kirby Joseph played 1 year of safety in college. 1 year. And after 3 years in the league at safety, he's the highest paid safety in the NFL. We know what Brian Branch does. We know about J-Mo. We know about Jahmyr Gibbs. We know about Amon-Ra St. Brown. We know about Sam Laporta, right? We know about Malcolm Rodriguez, right? Jack Campbell. Okay? He's coming into his own. We want to see that athleticism, and because he had that RAS score that was really high, and we want to see the athleticism. Want to see him get some hands on balls, bat some down, and cause more fumbles and things of this nature. Nobody can deny that, but you also can't deny there was Broderick Martin, right? And shout out to Derek, who goes way back, and he talks about the trade for Trinity Benson that didn't work out. It pains me because this man is from the same place that I'm from. He's got the same name that I have, but Donovan Peoples-Jones. I don't know what, Donovan Peoples-Jones. I can't actually, you know what? No. I can't blame Brad for Donovan Peoples-Jones. That was Donovan Peoples-Jones' fault. He was a diggity dog in Cleveland. And then he got home. He came home, and I don't think he could deal with the pressure of playing at home. But he was a diggity dog. Hooker is a waste too. Yes. Hooker is a wasted pick. When you bring in a freaking high school coach who just won a championship and was out of football that year, and he comes in and he's your backup in the playoffs, and he actually has to get in for a series and play. This is why I was telling people, throughout the offseason when we're talking about freaking Myles Garrett. And people kept telling me, well, somebody said that, he wouldn't make the trade because they were asking about Hendon Hooker. Bro, bye. What do you mean he wouldn't make the trade because they were asking? No, who was asking about Hendon Hooker? Who would ask for Hendon Hooker? Like, if I'm trading you Myles Garrett, just give me picks, bro, because there is no player on your team that I would take back that you would be willing to trade. Right? I'm giving you Myles Garrett. You better give me Jahmyr Gibbs. You better give me J-Mo. You better give me Amon-Ra St. Brown. You better give me Sam Laporta. You better give me one of those players that has a name on your team, because I'm giving you Myles Garrett. I'm not asking you for Myles Garrett, a pick, and Hendon Hooker. Come on, bro. For what? Hendon Hooker for what? They went and got the Browns drafted 5 quarterbacks in this draft and did not inquire about Hendon Hooker. Give me a break, bro. Give me a break. Broderick Martin, since you brought up Broderick Martin, can we cut him? He might have cut himself. Hopefully Hutch stays healthy. We will be as good or better. That's where I disagree with you, and I'll tell you why. Donkey Kong says not every pick and acquisition is going to work out. Brad is way ahead on hits and misses. Brad is the best GM in the NFL. He's not the best GM in the NFL. That belongs to Howie Roseman. Okay? But we're talking about the philosophy here. Said once they re-signed Goff, it became a wasted pick. Spirit of Detroit says keep doing what you're doing. Shout out. But Howie Roseman clearly is the best GM, right? They just won a Super Bowl because of the team that he drafted. Largely, the team that he drafted was responsible for that, right? Not even really the free agents. Was Josh Sweat? I think Josh Sweat drafted by the Eagles, or was he a free agent? I don't remember. Okay, but you got Big Jordan Davis. You got Jalen Carter over there in the middle. You got them boys over there. Okay, Brandon Graham was drafted by the Eagles. Brandon Graham, and we talk about Marcus Davenport. Brandon Graham had the same injury, came back early, and tore that joint again while winning a Super Bowl. and then retired as a Super Bowl champion. Partially because Hooker is only on the market to YouTubers and the media. The Lions themselves are not interested in trading Hooker, so there's that. Roseman, Veach, Ravens GM, I think it's DaCosta, Rams GM, then Brad. I don't think Donkey Kong. I'm not sure which YouTuber thought that Hendon Hooker was on the market. I know some media members who were writing things for clicks, but their articles didn't make any sense. Right? The articles didn't make any sense. You're just writing something to have it read. Hendon Hooker, and I said this. I don't know which show it was, but you can go back to my channel. When people were talking to me, they were arguing with me about how Hendon Hooker was going to be a part of any trade that would bring Myles Garrett. I said to them that the Hendon Hooker value was nothing because of what happened with Teddy Bridgewater in the playoffs. Right? And then they came out and said it at the owners' meetings. When they asked Dan Campbell about it, right? They just trusted Teddy, which means they didn't trust Hendon. So when you show the rest of the NFL that you do not trust this player, no one is trading for him. No one is demanding him in a trade. Brad Holmes took the decades-long laughingstock of the NFL to a Super Bowl contender. Brad took a totally poop team and completely rebuilt it in a very short period of time. Roseman would have failed. How, though? How would he have failed? Roseman got a team to the Super Bowl, got fired, came back, and then won a Super Bowl. If you look at it, what the Philadelphia Eagles, Donkey Kong, let me ask you this question. And this is how I know when you answer the question if you're trolling or not. Would you take, and I'm not even gonna say the entire defense. Would you? I'm gonna break it down for you. Would you take the Eagles' defensive line over the Lions' defensive line? Don Gonzalez did. It doesn't matter if he took over. See, listen, Roseman he's in the business of winning Super Bowls. The Eagles have been to 3 in the last 7 years, and they've won 2 of them. No, it doesn't matter. What I'm telling you is this. They've been to and won Super Bowls. All we want to see as fans of the Detroit Lions is a Super Bowl appearance and a win. But let's start with the Super Bowl appearance. Okay, so Tactical Sport says Eagles line 10 times over. No one on the face of the earth wanted Brad's job. So many people wanted the job. Bob Quinn wanted the job, and he did terribly at it. You just think of this, and I will summarize this for you, Donkey Kong. Why did Martin Mayhew get fired? Was he a bad GM? This is my question. Why did Martin Mayhew get fired? How many poor decisions Martin Mayhew was a bad GM. Okay. Martin Mayhew was a bad GM because of one decision. And it was a colossally bad decision that he made. Had he not made that decision, Motor City Maniac says, after watching 50 years, I'll take a Super Bowl appearance. Right. We want to get there. I don't know how old you are, Donkey Kong, but I'm actually a millennial because people don't get that generation correct. They think it's the people like the generation after me. They think it's all of the people that run around and drink mocha cappuccino and you drive Priuses and be on social media all day. It's the wrong one. Well, I'm 42, so so my point about Martin Mayhew, and this is very relevant to Brad Holmes. Okay, Martin Mayhew was a bad GM in your eyes because of one decision. If he just drafts Aaron Donald instead of, or if he drafts Odell Beckham, like if he drafts anybody that came after Eric Ebron, nobody is calling for his job. But because it was such a colossal failure that he didn't get Sue locked back in and he didn't draft Aaron Donald to pair next to Sue, which probably would have helped him to get locked back in and come back to Detroit. Sue wanted to stay in Detroit. Okay? So he botched that and the Ebron draft pick. That's why he got fired. That one instance. Right? So this is what I'm saying about Brad Holmes. I'm not saying that Brad Holmes is a bad GM, and I'm not saying that he's done too many things poorly. We started off, I don't know, Donkey Kong, if you've heard the 97.1 interview that he did. We started off listening to that because of the sheer arrogance where he's trying to basically patronize everyone and call us all stupid children because we won an edge rusher, but he couched it as these are elite edge rushers that you were asking for. No, we are not. We want someone with a pulse. Josh Pascal does not have a pulse as an edge rusher. Levi Onwuzurike does not have a pulse as an edge rusher. You know what Marcus Davenport's pulse is? It's intermittent. He's in and out. He's on life support. Okay? Sometimes you can find the pulse. Sometimes you can't. More often than not, you can't find the pulse. It's like he's in a coma, medically induced. That's fine and that's why we're here today. That's why we're here today, Donkey Kong. And I'm glad that you can disagree with me and I can disagree with you and you don't just run out. Okay? Because this is what happens. This is healthy discourse. Tactical Sports says Brad is not beyond reproach. Motor City Maniac says, who's Davenport? LOL. Most of the time, that's what we're saying. Brad Holmes goes and gets his guys. That's great. You know who's a Brad Holmes guy? Marcus Davenport. You know how many games he played for us last season? 1. He played the first game. He was injured at the end of the first game, groin injury, missed the entire second game, came back for the first quarter and a half of the third game and was injured, lost for the entire season. And if you don't sign Zadarius Smith, That is gross mismanagement for you to go into the season with a guy with that kind of injury history. He's played 15 games once in his career, one time. This is what we want. This is all we're asking for. We need insurance. If you bring back Big Z, we're all good. We're all good. Even though you didn't draft an edge rusher, we're all good if you bring back Big Z. Yes, Davenport is a big gamble. Smith has a contract offer. He has an offer, but will he accept the offer? And we don't know what the offer is. Maybe it's a really low ball offer, but you know who will never tell if Big Z winds up signing somewhere else. You know who will never tell you what the offer was? Brad Holmes. Dolo Dynamite says, I like Ratledge, not gonna lie, but he got what Brad loves, an ankle injury. It's up to Smith to accept it. That's fine. I don't know what you do as a job, Donkey Kong, but let's say you want to make $50 an hour at your job, right? That's what you come in, you do the interview, and they're like, what's your salary expectation? And you like $50 an hour. Let's say you're, I don't know, a pipeline engineer, whatever. Okay. So it's $50 an hour. And they're like, I mean, we'll give you 20. Take it or leave it. Yeah, you can take 20. You can take $20 an hour, but you're not going to, no, you probably won't. You'll probably go to another company somewhere who's going to treat you fairly. Maybe they're not going to offer you 50. Maybe they'll offer you 40. He says, I own 2 businesses. I run a flooring installation business and I flip houses. I know how finances work. And again, so you know, I'm preaching to the choir then, right? If he's getting a low ball offer, then yes, it is up to him to accept it, but we can't just say, well, he had an offer on the table. You know what you have a business. You know when you're lowballing somebody, right? And you know in your mind, you are lowballing this person and you're lowballing them for whatever reason. Okay? But you know you're lowballing them. And when you know you're lowballing a person, you are doing it so you don't actually have anything to say when they decide to do something else. It's Brad's offer. I'm sure it's fair for a guy that will only rotate anyway. I don't know what the offer is, but what I do know is over 2 teams, Zadarius Smith had 9 sacks. He had 9 sacks across 2 teams for the season. Our next closest, that's more than what Hutch had, but Hutch didn't play the entire season. So we're going to say that Hutch would have had many more than 9 sacks. Okay. The next closest person who played for the entire season was DJ Reader. He gave you 3. I think a deal was already met. Why would we give Z's undrafted nephew 20? Yeah, they $200,000. They did make him a priority. They did make him a priority undrafted free agent. Like I said, though, okay, and back to Donkey Kong, what I'm saying to you is this. I don't care what you did in the draft. If you go bring Big Z back, then you've understood the mission. Again, this season, last season is dead and gone. Last season we were 15-2, and that's great. All of that is cute. But look, we are playing Lamar Jackson. We are playing Jalen Hurts. We are playing Jaden Daniels. We are playing, hell, Dak Prescott if you want. Okay, you can throw him in there. We are playing Patrick Mahomes. We are playing Jordan Love twice. We are playing Caleb Williams twice. That's 9 games. We are playing Joe Burrow. That's 10 games against either elite quarterbacks or very good mobile quarterbacks or middling mobile quarterbacks who can get out of the pocket and hurt you. Caleb Williams, for all of his warts, he's going to get better because this is year 2, and he can hurt you outside of the pocket. He can hurt you by running around in the pocket. He also hurts himself by running around in the pocket. And when he hurts himself by running around in the pocket, you must make him pay by getting him on the ground. You must do that. When he tries to extend the play for 15 seconds, you have to get him on the ground. Last time you played Lamar Jackson had an average of 10 seconds to throw every football. Would the Lions have got Z last year if Hutch didn't get hurt? I think they would have, because Marcus Davenport was hurt, which was going to happen. Right? Because that was the talk about having Hutch and Big Z together. Barnes going to be a 10-sack guy? Really? By what metric is Barnes going to be a 10-sack guy? That one, that's wild to me. 10 sacks from Derek Barnes. Okay. All right, Donkey Kong. We're just going to have to agree to disagree, because yes, he has a contract offer. That's great. The point is not that he has a contract offer. Is it a competitive offer that he will not feel like he's being lowballed? That he will not feel like he's not getting his value? If he was feeling like he was getting his value, he either would have signed already, or he's just holding out to see if anyone else will offer him more. And both of those things are fine. Yeah, I don't understand the Derek Barnes take. I'm with you on the offer is the offer. The standard is the standard. But Derek Barnes being a 10-sack guy? I don't understand that one. If you were looking for 10 sacks from the Sam position, then you draft Jihad Campbell, who was there on the board when you took Tyleek. That one was, if they're expecting Derek. Hold on. Derek Barnes has 4 sacks. In his career. So there are metrics that you look at. Okay? Derek Barnes has 4 sacks in his career. So if they're expecting, why would you expect a person that has 4 sacks in their career, which has spanned 3-4 years, why would you expect him to have 10 in one season? And that's asinine. You said Derek Barnes just got a contract that's probably double what they offered Zadarius Smith. And that's why he hasn't signed. The value of an edge rusher, this is why they get paid more than linebackers. Motor City Maniac says Barnes won't get 4 this year, LOL. There's nothing to show you that he won't, that he will. There's nothing to do that. Z probably won't rotate Donkey Kong. He's probably going to wind up being your starter because you're talking about Marcus Davenport. Who Marcus Davenport doesn't need anything but a couple snaps to get hurt. He's played 15 games once in his career. He played a game and a quarter last season. Tactical Sport says, I honestly would have been fine letting Barnes walk, especially if you were going to draft a Jihad Campbell. I'm just saying. So, not to get too hung up on it, Donkey Kong, we all as content creators, we have opinions. Like if we just sat up here and gargled Brad's balls paws. Now, like no one would have a different perspective on anything. Right? 15-2 is cute, but 15-2 doesn't get you any trophies. Right? You said you're 45. I said I'm 42. We've been lifelong Lions fans, and we've never seen a Super Bowl. We've never seen a Super Bowl appearance. We've seen a Super Bowl in Detroit at Ford Field with the Steelers and the Seahawks, and Jerome Bettis, who's from Detroit, won a Super Bowl in his hometown. That's cool. That's the closest we have. Right. So you're saying that they're only offering Zadarius Smith $4 million a year. That's crazy. That's crazy. That for an edge rusher that gets you 9 sacks, you're offering him $4 million a year. How much did Joey Bosa get? For a guy that plays 4 games a year, how many did he get? Don't care what Brad gave him. That isn't my money. For my money, yeah. Okay. Obviously, I don't know the actual offer. No, I'm just going off your assumption that they were going to pay him half. This is what I'm saying. Like, if they were going to pay me $4 million a year after I just gave you 4 sacks in 7 games, and I gave you 9. I didn't give you 9 total, but I had 9 total on the year. I don't think I would be too interested in signing that deal. And no, I don't think he is either, if that's the deal. That's what I'm saying. We don't know what the deal is. So we can say, oh, he has a contract offer and it's on the table, but we don't know what it is. It could be something disrespectful. Right? I think there were some other players out that I think Carlton Davis felt like he was lowballed and he left. Right? So if you feel like you're being lowballed, you're not going to go, like, even look at, it's a cautionary tale. Look at Le'Veon Bell. He thought that the Steelers were lowballing him, and then he wound up accepting a lesser offer to save face after sitting out a season. Yes, it's not Tactical's decision. It's Brad's decision, and we don't have to agree with every decision that's made. Listen, when Brad's decisions take us to a Super Bowl and we hoist the Lombardi, then there will be nothing that you can say. But until that point in time, until we hoist a Lombardi, then everyone has an opinion that's valid. Because if you can't get us to the Super Bowl, and if you can't win us a Super Bowl, then what is the difference between you and me? Can I draft a team that can get us to the Super Bowl? Possibly. Can you? No. That's the point. Like until we see the Super Bowl, right? Until the Lion King meme is no longer a thing that says, Dad, what's a Super Bowl? And Mufasa says, I don't know, son, we're lions. Until that is not a thing anymore, then this is what we demand. And since we've been looking at the team and we've been watching, those of us that really, really watch and understand who's coming in here, understand the 10 games that we have against those quarterbacks next season, and understand that if you cannot get to the quarterback consistently, you will not win. You just won't. We have all the pieces on our defense except for a person who can win one-on-ones on the other side of Hutch. And that is all we're asking for. We're not asking for an elite rusher. An elite rusher would make things easier, yes. But we want someone who can win one-on-ones consistently. We want someone who can get 9-10 sacks. Hello, Big Z. That's all we want. Right? That's it. People want to say, oh, it was the injuries that lost us the playoff game. No, it was 5 turnovers. Just because we won that game in Texas against the Texans, after turning the football over 5 times, throwing 5, that was the 3rd time that has happened in 100 years. There was a reason for that. It doesn't happen. It's not supposed to. Asking is getting pathetic since Brad has said numerous times he does not see edge as a priority. Only the media sees it as a priority. And that's fine. This is what I'm saying. Until you prove to me, Brad Holmes, and you prove to the fan base, Brad Holmes, that it's not a priority and that you can win a Super Bowl, that you can go to a Super Bowl without it, that is the point of this show. I said it's time to have a philosophical conversation about the Detroit Lions. Is your philosophy a Super Bowl winning philosophy? Is your philosophy a Super Bowl appearing philosophy? We also lost the NFC Championship game partially because we could not get to Brock Purdy. When things started breaking down and they started making that run, we didn't have anything to stem the tide to get to Brock Purdy. We had Aiden Hutchinson, and that was it. And you know why that wasn't enough? Because when you only have Aiden Hutchinson and you have nobody on the other side that can scare you, at least, that can make you think twice about just doubling and tripling and sending help over for Hutch, that's what happens. You do that to Hutch. You send doubles, you send chips, you send running backs at him, you send tight ends at him, you slow him down, and Brock Purdy stands back there with all the time because nobody else can get to him. So once you've proven that with this formula, you can make it to a Super Bowl, then I have nothing else to say. I'll be like, you know what? Brad was right. We were wrong all this time. I don't have a problem with being wrong. But I haven't been wrong in what? Let's say I'm 42. Barry Sanders got drafted when I was 7. He got drafted in 89, right? Okay. Carried it 2. All right. 35 years I've been right. For 35 years, I've been a fan of this team. And for 35 years, I've been making suggestions and they ain't been doing them. We've all been making suggestions. And they've all been going a different way all the time. And none of us have ever seen a Super Bowl. That's the facts. Our roster is not set at as far as gaining players. What do you mean? What do you mean? We're going into the cutting phases and the roster jumbling. We're going into that phase after the draft. That doesn't mean we're done as far as getting players. We can make trades. We can do anything. No, I wasn't following Kuiper's board. I'm looking at the reasons why we can't win big games. And this is why I started off by asking you, and you never answered my question. Would you take the Eagles' defensive line over the Lions' defensive line? All right, Motor City Maniac. I know you rolled out a while ago, but okay. So we would take the Eagles defensive line over the Lions. Okay. I'm glad you're not trolling. Would you take the Eagles linebacking core over the Lions linebacking core? Because if your answer was yes, I would take the Lions line, okay, then that would mean that our entire defense is better. The only thing I would take is their D-line and QB. Whoa, Donkey Kong, you're not a golf guy? Whoa. You take their D-line, and that makes the entire defense better. You're telling me you wouldn't take Quinyon Mitchell over Terrion Arnold? Is that what you're telling me? Zach Bond was an All-Pro last year because of who he was playing behind. I'm taking our safeties over theirs for sure. I don't know what DJ Reed looks like in this defense. But if you're telling me after last season, you would take Quinyon Mitchell, you would take Terrion Arnold over Quinyon Mitchell, I would say you weren't watching. This was the question. You can't have a hypothetical question and try and a hypothetical conversation and then try to deal in absolutes. Right? This is what we do. We speculate. We talk about stuff. Right? If nobody ever had the ability to have an opinion, then we wouldn't have shows like this. You wouldn't have anything to pass your time and sit in the chat and talk to people because we're just like, well, Brad drafted who he drafted. Do we need anybody else on the team? I don't know. Ask Brad. Because we have to trust in Brad. We can't say anything about Brad. But you'll sit up here and say that Martin Mayhew was a bad GM. You'll say that Bob Quinn was a bad GM. Right? When is Brad, and I'm not calling for this, but what does Brad have to do for him to be a bad GM if you're going to agree with everything that he does? Why didn't you agree with everything Mayhew did? Why didn't you agree with everything that Bob Quinn did? The Lions organization trotted these people out and they put them in your face and they said, here's your leader now. So why didn't you accept them unequivocally? Why wouldn't you take Goff? Brad said Goff is our guy. Shouldn't we just go with that? Their QB is versatile and way better. So if you want to Bitch about something. Bitch about a statue QB. I can't do that. If I do that, I'll lose all of my subscribers. I can't even say that turnovers were the reason we lost to the Commanders without someone calling me a casual or golf phobic. I remember people saying that they gave us Goff as a throwaway. They just threw him in there. That's what I remember. You know? I'm just saying, the question was Howie Roseman a better GM? You said Howie Roseman would have failed here. And my question was asking about the way that he's drafted. Would you take the players that he's drafted? You said you'd take them on the D-line. Okay. The ones that he's drafted and signed. Mary Smith says we all have our opinions, but at the end of the day, we're going to keep rocking and rolling with what we got and pray we pass the King of the North and see a Super Bowl. Right. That's all we want. Everybody here wants the same thing. Nobody wants the Lions to suck. Nobody wants the Lions to go back to being 0-16. Nobody wants any of that. We want to see a Super Bowl. And when you just so arrogantly and flippantly act like the fan base is delusional because they want someone competent on the other side of Hutch, it's pretty silly. Pretty damn good throwaway, like I'll take it. Well, he wasn't a good throwaway at all when he first got here. He had to develop. They had to get more talent around him. But he's changed. He's a better player than when he got here. Much better. Because they trusted in him and they developed him. And Sean McVay wasn't interested in doing any of that. I like homie's picks. I like a lot of his picks as well. I just want someone who has a pulse on the other side of Aiden Hutchinson. That's it. That's it. That's all I'm asking for. Just give me a guy with a pulse over there. You don't have one right now. And don't tell me I'm crazy or I don't understand football because I'm asking you for that. Don't make it, Brad, that we're asking you for the elite of the elite. No, we're asking you for competence. So don't try to act like we're all incompetent because we're asking you for competence. That's all. That's why this irked me. That's why I didn't like it. That's all. The fan base is delusional because Brad has looked straight in the camera and screamed edge is not priority to anyone meaningful in the Lions organization. And that's fine if it's not a priority to you, but can you win without getting to the passer? This is the point. You got to get to the passer in the NFL. It's just something that you have to do. I want our Lions to win the Super Bowl. Let's stop thinking Hutch is all we need. Cedric Sweeney gets it. So Donkey Kong, what should we talk about? Tell me what should we talk about? So when we react to the draft, like how do you react to the draft? Do you just give A's to every pick? I will wait. So I'm gonna shut my show down. I'm gonna shut my show down until after the season and then come back and be like, I told y'all. I told y'all. Let's chat about how our roster is virtually set. That's not interesting. Okay. Everybody's coming. Look, I'll give you that topic. Everybody's coming back. We're not going to have injured guys. Who we're playing doesn't matter because we got everybody back except Aleem McNeil. He won't be back for quite some time. Marcus Davenport, he's back. He's going to play the whole season. We're not grading the draft, really. We're reacting to it. We're reacting. That's all. The draft grade doesn't come through for 3 years because we have to see what these players will do. The numbers don't support the quote that the edge isn't a priority. Right. 100%. 100%. But that's all I'm saying. Like if all of us are just supposed to talk about the same thing in the same way, it would be pretty boring. My draft reaction is that Brad went and got 7 of the guys on his 12-man board, and most of them will probably be very good. Most of the players are very good. Did you enjoy trading up and trading away 2 third-round picks for a wide receiver that was projected to be taken in the 5th round? Did you enjoy that? Because I don't want to be the guy. I don't want to be the guy watching the Ravens game and having to like take a victory lap when we can't get to Lamar Jackson. That's not going to make me feel good. They're virtually 4th round picks projected from who? Kuiper, Mariah Carey. Isaac Tesla himself came out and said he thought he was going to be drafted in the 5th round. Because when you have an agent, your agents tell you when they speak to other agents and they get a feel for what's going on around the league, right? They get a feel for what the front offices and the GMs are saying. So then they tell you, when you go forward to a draft advisory board, they give you where you probably will go or where you're projected to go. So no, we're not looking at Mel Kiper or Mariah Carey. I'd love to look at Mariah Carey all day, but that's not what we're doing. Cedric Sweeney says we could have drafted some players to put us in elite conversation, but Brad wants no-name players so he can save money on. You said it, Cedric. Yes, that's exactly what I said, Donkey Kong. That's exactly what I said. It was a reach. Broderick Martin was a reach. Hendon Hooker was a reach. We just got finished talking about how Broderick Martin and Hendon Hooker were wasted picks. And we also have a roster with stacked talent at the receiver and tight end position. We have a roster that is devoid of talent on the other side of Aiden Hutchinson. That is the point. And that is going to be the point, and it's going to be the truth until it gets changed. That's all. That's all. But anyway, y'all, I appreciate you coming through, hanging out, sticking around, stopping by. I've got to get out of here. I got things that I got to do. Once again, Motor City Cats back at it. Came to give you stats, not none of that static. Whatever you do, make sure you keep your Lions news pragmatic. And we are out. Peace.